I'm not always okay. I struggle. I have a hard time. I even at times question God. God, are you really there? Do you really hear my prayers? Are you really there for me? Sometimes I'm not okay, but that's okay. Praise the Lord, everyone, and thank you for joining me for this week's weekly word. Just a moment ago, I was kind of explaining, I'm being a little transparent here with you. Sometimes, even as a Christian, as somebody with a walk with God, sometimes we're just not okay. Sometimes things are difficult, they're hard. Life comes against us, you know. Just for the last couple weeks, we've been battling sickness all throughout the church, and it's been much more severe than normal, so much so that we've voluntarily shut down the church for a couple of weeks. And granted, thank God we should be back here in the house of God on Wednesday. That means that we were that we weren't where we wanted to be. That means that we weren't able to be here to worship together corporately or to praise together, to hear the word together. But instead, we've been off in our own little corners of our community, and that's not at all what we've wanted to do. We've wanted to be here. And for many of us, myself included, that's really upsetting, and I'm not okay with it. But that's okay. Because you see, God doesn't expect us to always, how can I say this? God doesn't expect us to always have things together. God doesn't expect us to always have full control over everything. In fact, much of the time, He wants us to not have control. Because if we have control, if we're maintaining control, what can He do? I'm reminded of the story in 1 Kings chapter 17, where Elijah, the Tishbite, the prophet, he's going into Zarephath, and God speaks to him. You know, there's a widow woman. I've called her to take care of you, to sustain you, and make sure you've got the food and the water and everything that you need. And he goes in and he sees this woman gathering up sticks, and he says, "Hey, miss, do me a favor. Go get me a drink of water." Okay, so she obliges him, and she's going to get him this drink of water, and says, "Oh, while you're at it, bring me some bread. Bring me a cake to eat." I can only imagine at this point in time what she's thinking, you know, because unbeknownst to the prophet, she is at that point in time gathering sticks to cook her last meal for her and her son. She has gathered, she has just a little bit of oil in the cruse, just a little bit of meal in the bin, and she is planning to make one more cake that she and her son are going to eat, and then they're going to die. That's specifically what she says. That we're going to eat this, and then we're going to die. You see, sometimes it takes us being at that rock bottom place. You know, we like to preach, and we like to proclaim that we can trust God, that He'll always bring us through things. And I don't get me wrong, I do believe that, and I do preach that. But we also like to claim that we won't go through hardships because we're children of God. That we won't be faced with trials because we're children of God. But contrary to that is what the Word says. As a matter of fact, you will face trials. Why? Because you're a child of God. And you will be faced with hardships. Why? Because you need to learn to trust in God. In this particular story, I would like to say that this woman had so much faith in God, so much trust in His ability to provide for her, that she just said, "Oh, I'm going to make this cake, and tomorrow morning we'll wake up, son, and there'll be more meal and there'll be more oil." But no, her faith was gone. She was at her most destitute, and in her most extreme of circumstances. "God, I need you, and I'm not okay, and God, it doesn't even seem like you're going to answer, so I'm going to make this last meal, and my son and I are going to just eat it and die." If if she were here today, she would tell you, I was not okay. I was not satisfied. I was not overjoyed. I was not excited. I had no faith. I was not okay. But that's okay. Because in her time of struggle, that's when God could move. When she had no more faith to even look unto God, it seemed, just to say, okay, I've got this little bit left and then it's over. That's when God said, but wait, here I am, and let me prove to you how powerful I am. The man of God shows up and he prophesies to her that if you'll make me this cake, your meal and your oil won't run out. And such as it was, she obeyed the man of God, and she made him that cake, and her family was sustained. All because she had to get to that one point where she was not okay. If I can be a little bit transparent with you for a moment. I know I'm supposed to be a man of God. I'm your pastor. But I'm allowed to have my struggles too. I have my times where I'll be at home and it seems like everything is going wrong. The world is crashing around me. And I've been known to, at times, go into my bedroom and lay on my bed and cry and pray. Or to come here to the house of God. And I remember one particular instance, not that long ago, if I'm to be honest with you. I walked into the sanctuary. I was the only one in the building. And I began to pray, and I said, God, I don't even feel you right now. You see, I tried to kneel down at the altar and pray, because that's what I like to do. That's where I like to meet God, is in a place of surrender at the altar. And as I knelt down and prayed, I felt nothing, and it felt like my prayers just were inhibited. I couldn't even pray right. And I was just getting so frustrated, getting so aggravated at myself, and if I'm honest, at God. And finally I got up and I said, okay, God, here I am. I'm not hiding anything anymore. God, I'm not okay. And I began to express my struggles and my troubles with Him. And you know, for some that might seem a little extreme. For some that might seem like, I can't believe that you would do that you'd be so raw with God. But why not? He's God. He already knows. So instead of pretending like everything is okay with Him, in these times when it's not, in these times when you're struggling just to survive, it seems, reach out to God and say, God, I'm not okay. I don't have it all together. Like this widow and her son, Lord, I feel like I'm about to make my last meal and die. God, I'm not okay. And let me tell you someone listening to me right now, if you can be that honest with God, tell Him, Lord, I'm not okay. I don't even know where to turn. I try praying, I try reading your word, and I get nothing. Just be honest with Him, and He'll meet you there. He'll sustain you just like He did this widow. Because finally she was honest enough to say to the man of God, I'm not okay. I'm going to eat this cake, my son and I, and then we're just going to die. I know that in this time of pandemic, in this time of sickness, in this time of everything going on, many of us have struggled emotionally, mentally, physically, and even spiritually. can I tell you, it's okay. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to not be okay. Because you have someone you can turn to. You have your God who died on a cross for you. It's okay to not be okay. As long as you can give it all over to Him. Thank you for joining me for this week's weekly word. And I pray that as you go through the next week and all of life begins to try to crash around you one more time, remember that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to have a hard time. It's okay to not be okay. God bless you guys. I love you.